Hello and welcome back to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. There has been a slight technical difficulty, and that is why the show is the previous podcast was ended and this new one was opened. Please keep listening, and I hope that you stayed with us through this break. I am sorry for that, and we will hopefully sort those out in our National Sports Studio. Alright, now we're going to look at keeping in on the hot, not, and just plain surprising. We are going to look in the Western Conference. In the Central, Chicago is still playing at a record pace. 16 games played, 13 games won, and only 3 games lost, and they were all in overtime. I believe actually all in shootouts, which means that gives them a record start. Most games to start a season with a point. And that the previous record was held by the 06-07 Anaheim Ducks, a team that went on to win the Stanley Cup. If they it looks like Chicago could be headed on that same path as they right now are at a point where there's a very good chance they will be in the playoffs as a high seed. Very, very good season for them so far. On the opposite side of the spectrum of teams in the Central Division who seem to make the playoffs every year, the Detroit Red Wings have lost 4 in a row and have fallen to 7-3 and 6, and they right now are not in a good position. They are now out of a playoff position currently if the playoffs started today. Detroit has not missed the playoffs in a very long time, and it would be very shocking if they do. Going to the Northwest, this division has just not been great. Only Vancouver, their division leader, is in a playoff spot, and they would be about the 5th seed if they did not have that automatic division bid I talked about earlier. They are 8-4-3 in right now, and doing okay, but just not great. Of course, they started out pretty bad, but Roberto Luongo has come through for them. The second team in that division, Minnesota, was expected to do great things and started out doing them, but now they are 11th, and their goalie, James Harden, he has a disease, multiple scoliosis, and it has been very hard on him now because he is now he could be out for a very long time. We will see. He has been put on the IR, but he has been given permission by the NHL to enter whenever he wants. That comes with that very, very serious disease, and we here at National Sports really, really send our wishes and get wells to James Harden and hope for this Minnesota franchise that they get their goalie back. Going to the Pacific Division, we're going to look and Anaheim Ducks. They have been in their last 10 games, they've lost 1. And that was in regulation, but still only 1 lost game. They are 12-1-2. Started out not perfect. They started out okay, but since they have been hot, and of course 8 of those wins by Victor Fast, he has been absolutely outstanding, and he looks to continue an incredible rookie streak that I don't believe the NHL has ever seen before, especially from an international goaltender. San Jose is on the opposite side of that spectrum. They are 3-4-3 in their last 10 games after starting 7-0. They are 6th in the West still. That's how great their start was, and that's how bad their fall has been. They have just not been good. Alright, we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to look at the updated scoreboard fantasy, and we're going to take a journey to junior hockey lanes. That will a good look at the CHL. Thank you. Keep listening. In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. We will be right back after this quick commercial break. Hello and welcome back to In the Crease. I am your host, Karl Moeglein. We're going to go look at the updated NHL scoreboard, and right now it has stayed the same. There are currently 4 games in the second period and 4 games in the first. And, Boston has taken a 2-1 lead on Tampa at the end of the first in that game. Excuse me for not noticing that. And Washington has broken the goal barrier, scored 1 on New Jersey. That means that a team that has not been very good at all, Washington, who's from the Southeast, is being one of the better teams in the NHL. New Jersey, that is actually quite surprising to many people, including me. Alright, we're going to take a look at what... I'm going to give you some advice on fantasy teams. Fantasy hockey is a great hobby. It's great because fantasy football you only get to set once a week, and fantasy baseball you have to set every day. Fantasy hockey is much better. You kind of get breaks in between. It's crazy. I've got a couple tips and tricks. A couple of my things are, don't find players who have good plus minus, good PIM, and good, basically good all around. And find centers that win faceoffs. Find players who are good plus minus. If you are losing a lot, if you're falling behind in any stats, you know what you do? You will find players who are good in those stats. You don't try to stack them with more goal scorers. People lose in fantasy because they think that goals are the only category. Well, they're not. And you got to figure out that you got to do that. As I look into the my fantasy ball, I don't know what else to call it. My crystal ball of fantasy, I see that Victor Fast is going to be a great get. And when you look at the rookie point scoring, you just gotta look at no further than a few players to find that certain players that may not have been picked up are really, really worth being picked up right now. That includes a great group of people, and these are players who are going to look into the Calder Trophy right now. The Calder Trophy, which is for the top, the top rookie. All right, now you look at this right now. The current leader in points is Corey Conacher. He's a center out for Tampa Bay, and he is a Canadian. The leading goal scorer, though, with 6 goals, Vladimir Terensko. He's a right wing for St. Louis. He is Russian-born. There has been no goalie who's played more than a few games, although Jake Allen is leading right now for those rookie goalies. He has 3 wins, but he has currently been sent down to the minors, which means he will not be getting any more of those. Plus minus why Alex Galchenka is the center for Montreal. He's from the U.S. Is it just me, or does Montreal seem to have a ton of Americans? Like, seriously, it's crazy. They're a Canadian team, but they have a bunch of Americans. It's really odd, but, sometimes it just happens like that. Currently, Galchenkov is second in assists behind Concature. So I look at him as somebody you could pick up, but also Corey Concature, Terensko, and down Hamilton from Boston. Those are all good pickups right now. Rookie goalies, though, are not what you're wanting to take up. Not great right now. Of course, there's one more thing that I put into my perspective. I look at PIM. Right now, there's one rookie that's really standing out. Rich Kloon. He only has 1 goal, but what he has done is he has racked up the PIM, 33 PIM, and +1. That is quite impressive. Not going to get you a lot of stats. A player who's more all around is Brendan Dillon. He's a defenseman down in Dallas, which means you can put him in your D slot, which is always a good place to fill. He only has 4 points, and he's +4, but he has 20 PIM, so he's kind of a good mix of multiple stats. Alright, now we're going to go look into the CHL, which is the Canadian Hockey League. They are the top junior league in the nation. And right now, the Portland Winterhawks are the top team in there. Of course, this is a combined rankings. There are 3 leagues involved in the Canadian Hockey League: the Western Hockey League, the Ontario Hockey League, and the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. These are players who are 16 to 20, I believe. And although most of the top players are gone at 18, it's been a very interesting season so far. But the Portland Winterhawks have been the top team so far in all 3 divisions. If you look at the CHL rankings, they have been incredibly hot. Not even to 10 regulation losses yet, even though they have played 60 games, which is quite outstanding. They are only losing about 1-6, 1-5 games, which is quite incredible. Also doing really well, the Halifax Mooseheads. They're out in Quebec, and they're having a great season. It's 46-6-2-1. Of course, the 1 is the shootout loss. The 2 is the OT loss. So basically, it goes wins, loss, regulation losses, OT losses, and shootout losses are the last column. As you look down, another team from the WHL, Edmonton, they're the Oil Kings. They are 43-12-2-3, having a good season out there. Second in the Western Hockey League, behind the Portland Winterhawks, although the Portland Winterhawks look in the position to lock up the first seed very, very soon. Now you look at the London Knights. They have been very good, especially as of late. They have been a very good team, 41-12-2-2. In the OHL, they look to take the top spot there. Finishing out our top 5, the Rimouski Oceanic of the QMJHL. This is the team where Sidney Crosby played, and they are 37-12-2-6, looking to have a good season. And on the CHL site, there's been a poll of the 2013 Memorial Cup winner, which is the winner for all 3 leagues. Which league will it come from? And most people are saying the WHL, that team, of course, the most likely to come out of there, the Portland Winterhawks, who have just been on fire. Alright, that's going to be the end of our show. But remember, find us on Facebook in the Crease with Karl Moeglein, or National Sports, at Twitter at National Sports 1, or at my personal account at Karl_PM. And you can find our official website, suddenimpact14.wix.com/nationalsports. suddenimpact14.wix.com/nationalsports. Thank you for listening to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein on the Spreaker network, National Sports. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week. Thank you.